Hey everybody, Joe Joseph here for thedailySheeple.com, and this is your news shot. Let's go to principiascientific.org. Great site if you're looking for peer-reviewed work, especially when it comes to science. You'll find it here, and I utilize this for our Freaky Friday broadcast over at Truth Frequency Radio quite often, and they had an interesting piece. This is done back in April, but I find it fitting now because with all the talk of global warming, this whole Paris Accord thing went down, and Donald Trump pulled out the United States, even though, by the way, we never really officially ratified this Paris Accord, this treaty. President Obama signed on to it, but Congress never ratified it, so we never really entered into it. Let's just get that out on the table. But all things aside, this whole concept of global warming is all based on the narrative that these governments and these people, high-profile people like Al Gore, want to push because they stand to make billions and billions of dollars in carbon credits and everything else. It's a big, giant scam. Now there's 20 new science papers that find climate is driven by solar changes, which is exactly what, if you go on YouTube, you'll find a lot of armchair astronomers and you got Suspicious Observers, Ben Davidson, brilliant site and brilliant YouTube channel that really highlight how the sun affects our climate. And not just our climate, but the way our planet behaves, even down to earthquakes, and weather. Weather's huge, These, he calls them earth spots. Much like a sunspot on the sun, you have earth spots on the earth, hurricanes, typhoons, things like that, earth spots. Very similar to a sunspot. And just brilliant, brilliant work. I mean, this guy's not a mainstream scientist. But a lot of mainstream scientists are now getting on board to say, oh, whoa, wait a minute. And if you take a look at the funding, a lot of these scientists get federal funding that push climate change. And if you'll notice, it's almost a requirement. If you're going to get this grant, you have to be in favor of and promote this. That's kind of how it works. These colleges and academia rely heavy on funding from DARPA and NASA and your science community to sustain their programs. So, of course, hey, look, we'll say anything. We'll sell our souls, no problem. Well, that's what they do. So in this article, and it's a rather lengthy article, it gives you the basically an overview of what these peer-reviewed papers have to say in support of this. It says, earlier this month, the first installment in the accumulating list of hundreds of new peer-reviewed scientific papers supporting a skeptical position on climate change alarm was made available. So right off the bat, you're talking about well over 100. It says included on this list were 38 papers linking climate change to solar forcing, 38 sun climate scientific papers from January to March 2017. Just in a few weeks alone, another 20 papers were identified which link solar variations to climate changes, which means 58 papers have already been published in 2017 on this alone. So how come nobody else is talking about this in the science community? How come the UN isn't like, whoa, hey? I mean, they are, after all, supposed to be representing our interests, right? They're all for the human race. I mean, so if that's the case, and hey, this is the truth. This is what's really causing things. That perhaps it's cyclical. Just as there has been solar minimums in the past where you've had ice ages, and you've had solar maximums where it's got really hot. And you've had things like Carrington events that have happened. And electrical grids, or at that time, telegraphs were, burning up. It was kind of crazy. If that kind of thing happened today, it would probably be catastrophic. But these are the important things that we need to know. Because if we know about this and we actually accept the truth for what it is, then we can prepare for things like that. For Carrington events, for solar maximums, for solar minimums. We can predict accurately, this ice age isn't going to be good for farming, so let's let's figure this out so that, we don't have mass death and craziness and chaos. I mean, that's really what we should be striving for. But really, that's not what happens, because it's just like in medicine. There's no money in cures. Well, it's the same in science. You just have to say what you're told to be, to put out there, to be as far as a mouthpiece for, the propaganda. And that's exactly what they do. Mainstream science oftentimes is bought and paid for, just like politics, just like the news. It's basically, if you got the money, you can have any of these prostitutes or these scientists, sell their souls to you. They'll do it. It's amazing. I'm Joe Joseph. This was thedailysheeple.com's News Shot. Check out those papers. Very, very interesting and compelling evidence to support the case for solar-driven weather changes. And that's really all it is. Feel free to comment below and visit our website at thedailysheeple.com. Have a great day, everybody.